Well, it's 10 after 4. I'm going to say a few words introduction about your future. Next week we have FSN, the Fashion Service Network, and the week after you have your final test, so be prepared. It'll be multiple choice in 2 weeks. And I wanted to talk to you about our wonderful special guest speaker that we're so privileged to have here today. He's the fashion guru of gurus on television, on fashion runway. His opinion is what counts. And he's here today to share his talent and knowledge with you. Hal Rubenstein, of course, is fashion director of InStyle. And he has been with InStyle since it was launched 16 years ago. He created the signature section called The Look, which established the magazine as authority on celebrity style. He defined the confidence-building, down-to-earth tone that sets style apart and has made it the leading luxury fashion magazine. The marketplace today, in the market. He's an expert on red carpet glamour. I'm sure you've seen him on television. Hal frequently appears in the top-rated national morning entertainment shows. And in January 2010, he appeared on The Bachelor during an InStyle photo shoot. Previously, he was a judge in Lifetime Blush. The edge was, I couldn't figure that out. The search for the next great makeup artist. He also served as a fashion expert on the second season of Bravo, Tim Gunn's Guide to Style. Prior to joining InStyle, he was men's style editor of the New York Times Magazine. Hal was born in New York, has never seen any reason to live anywhere else. I agree with him. I was born in New York, would never leave here, never. Okay, now I've said it all, and I'm leaving this podium to my dear, dear friend, Hal Rubenstein. Okay. A great honor and privilege to have him. Thank you.
Why don't you guys move down from up there? Just make it closer because I can't see you because of the spotlight. All right? So if you guys could just move down, I'd appreciate it. Okay. I'm not going to come to lecture you. You get enough lectures all day long. So, but I want to know, just basically to talk to you about stuff that I think, can that light, can that light like be dimmed or something so I can actually see students? Or maybe I should sit. Hold on a second. That's better. Yeah. Now I can see you. Otherwise I just see a bunch of lights. Come on, move down. Move down. I'm not going to bite you. Promise. It's silly to be up there. Curious. Now, how many of you here are in design? I want to know just like design. Design? Okay. Who else is in like marketing? Journalism? What?
I have a bachelor's in journalism.
Journalism? Okay. That's cool. That's cool. They're close enough. Close enough. And how many of you are, after this season, you're out? Okay, just curious. What do you want to do when you get out?
Not sure yet.
Okay, not a bad answer. If you had to pick a druther, give me two.
For me?
Yeah.
But I didn't hear the question.
Give me two things that you'd be interested in doing if I gave you a dream platform. What would you do?
I'm interested in forecasting and maybe working with the designer for a small company.
Okay. You. Yes?
I want to eventually open my own business.
What kind?
Fashion, clothing line, or store.
Okay. You said you were done after this year?
No.
Which one? You? Who's done after this year or who's over here?
The two of us.
Okay, and you want to do what?
Be happy doing what I'm doing, regardless of what it is.
That's a cool answer. I like that a lot. The thing, look, I'm not going to teach you anything they teach you here in school. What I can teach you is what happens on the outside. And fashion is, I don't want to say it's a very different business on the outside than it is on the inside, But it's, on one hand, it's a great field, it's a very exciting world, and on the other hand, it's a business. It's a business just like any other. It's the best thing about being in school is that is basically you fail, you get a grade, you keep on moving. Oddly enough, when you get outside of business, you fail, you get a grade, and you also keep on moving. The difference is the stakes sometimes feel higher because the world. The advantage of school is that people here, there are people here to guide you, there are people here to coddle you, and I don't say that in a negative way, but you're in a little bit of a cocoon. And when you go out there, the first thing that you will realize when you get out is that no one is waiting for you. You can get, I don't care whether you get straight A's here and everybody screams you're wonderful and you're amazing, and you may very well be. The reality is that nobody's waiting for you. Because the retail world is out there, the stores are full, magazines have a full staff. So what is it so how the heck do you get anybody to pay attention to you? That's the thing that matters to me. What sets you apart from everybody else? And especially, and I have to say this, because there are more women in the room than there are men. Women have a very strange, I think sometimes, mainly because I work around 75 of them all day long, women have a very strange sense of self-perception. It's like most of you, the first you look in the mirror, I think the reason why men rule the world is that I think women probably are smarter, they're probably more pragmatic, they're physically stronger, they have greater stamina, sometimes even better focus. However, every morning women do the same thing. You all look in the mirror and you see the 5 things you don't like about yourself, and that's how you get dressed. And whereas the average man who looks in the mirror, regardless of what he really looks like, whether it's real or delusional, the person he sees is about that far from being Brad Pitt. And consequently, he walks out of the door with a smile on his face, and he's one step ahead of you. The thing that's so important to me, and they don't teach you this in school, and it's not their fault, they're teaching you how to be good at what you do. What you have to do, what you have to analyze is what makes me special? What makes me wonderful? It's funny, someone says, I want to design like, I want to look like, I want my hair like, I want to do clothes like. As long as you start with that sentence, you're always somebody's understudy. The only person you can be is you, because frankly all the other parts are taken. And it's not an easy thing to sit down and decide what makes me special. And I'm not saying what makes me gifted, okay? Some of you are more gifted than others. But every single one of you has a different outlook on life than the person sitting next to you. And it's a tough thing to analyze, and I think sometimes the problem, and especially in this day and age with your particular generation, where you're so busy connecting with others in the confines of your own room, or on the confines of your own, whether your iPhone or your BlackBerry or whatever it is, and you're so busy texting and talking to other people that the person that you forget to talk to the most is yourself. Do me a big favor. The next time you're on the computer too long, the next time you're texting like mad when you get out of a movie, could you do yourself, just remember Hal said something, would you put the goddamn thing away for 10 minutes? When you walk out of a movie, stop texting your friend that it was fabulous. Start thinking for 10 minutes why this was special to you. How do you interpret this differently than everybody else does? Why does this resonate with you? And when I'm using something as disparate as a movie, the reason why I'm saying this, it's the same thing whether you're offered a challenge at work, whether it's a design problem, whether it's a marketing thing. How do you see the world differently than everybody else? And the only way that you can see the world differently than everybody else is to get out there and take a good look. Another problem I have with, again, it's similar with your generation, is that you have chosen, or it's been chosen for you, I don't know, to basically see the world. You see the world from your room. You see the world from an 11-inch screen, and the computer it's an incredible tool. It really is. It's remarkable. It's remarkable how many things. I just finished a book for HarperCollins. I would say I would say the computer saved at least 40% of the time that it took to write that book, simply because I had access to information. And yet, on no less than 2 different occasions, I was sitting in your library, because there are things in that library that I can't get on the internet. And then past that, then you have to go to museums, then you have to go walk around, then you have to talk to people, then you have to interview. The important thing, the most dangerous thing that I think is potential in your particular generation is the ability to communicate. Because you communicate oddly enough, in a non-personal way. Yes, on one hand you can say whatever you want to. I'm not talking about bullying or any of that. That's not the purpose of this discussion right now. But you can say whatever you want to in the confines of your own room, but what you're having is not a conversation. You're texting and someone is texting back. That's fine. But you're not talking to anybody. A conversation is when you look at somebody square in the eye and they talk back to you. When you hear somebody speak, when somebody gives you words, when somebody presents words with you, included with those words is the cadence of their voice, is the focus of their eyes, is the physicality of what they do and how they move when they speak to you. When you get out in the business world, nobody cares whether you can text or write faster than anybody else, or whether you're a genius. How well can you communicate your ideas to other people? This is the essence of everything. And the thing that I have found most difficult with young people when they come to work at InStyle, or when I meet them with retail, is that they have great ideas and they have great skill. But what they don't have, what they're missing, is the ability to communicate. The ability to look beyond the confines of their own room and their own world. The amazing thing about the internet is that it offers you so much current information, so much present information, that you have a tendency not to look beyond what you just need. You don't look backwards. You don't look around. You don't look at the subjects that may seemingly unrelated, and yet at the same time will teach you everything. Fashion is part of pop culture. I'm not even going to call it art, because I don't believe it is. But fashion is connected to food. Fashion is connected to politics. Fashion is connected to family. Fashion is connected to education, to singing. Fashion is connected to architecture. And the better you're going to be at this is all based on how far your scope is, and how much you look out to the rest of the world to find out how the rest of the world works, in order for you to make clothing or to reach people in a way that's relative to them. You know, it's the same thing I was talking to you before about the young woman in front is doing an amazing, structurally and ideally and theoretically an amazing dress, made out of a great piece of like steel mesh, correct? But the bolero jacket is really stiff. Now, what I want someone to be able to look at the quality of her work, and instead of looking at it as an artifact or something that would belong in the gallery of wearable art, is, okay, maybe this woman will actually know how to take this ingenuity and be able to make clothes for people. The thing is, clothes. The thing that's amazing about clothing is that unlike sculpture, unlike painting, not everybody paints, not everybody sculpts, okay? And as boring as life would be without the two of them, we could all live without them. But every day, all of you, we all do the same thing. We all get up and we say 2 things. What am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? Which makes all of us experts in some way about food and fashion, which are the 2 things that interest me most in this world. Everybody makes a choice. Everybody gets to choose. So when you design clothing, especially when you design clothing, in the best of all possible worlds, you would just be designing your clothing so that Virginia Smith from Vogue and Cindy Weber Cleary from InStyle and Glenda Bailey from Harper's Bazaar could come and just swoon and drool all over your pieces. But the reality is that the shopper in the Crossgates Mall in Albany, New York is going to be the woman who's actually going to pay money and buy it. And you haven't met her yet. And she's not going to drool over your stuff in the showroom. And if she can't find it on a rack, and if it doesn't look right for her when she gets into the dressing room, and you haven't figured out how to make clothes for that woman who isn't 5'11", who isn't a size 4, who doesn't have Orbe doing her hair, and Pat Towers doing her makeup, but she came in there with a little scrunchie in her hair and a pair of flats, and somebody gave her a pair of shoes to borrow, and then she puts your outfit on and goes, "Ugh, not me." She leaves. You have to talk to that woman. I always tell people, one of the things to do is, next time you're home, go to your local mall and walk through your mall. I want you to take 2 walks through the mall. Start at one end and go through the mall, and I want you to look at everybody, and you can make fun of them as much as you want. You can make fun of their terrible hair color and the fact that that skirt doesn't fit right, and then somebody's wearing last year's jacket, and my God, why would that woman ever wear a pleated skirt? Do all the jokes you like. Now walk back the other way and past the same people and realize those are your customers. You somehow have to figure out how to make those people look better in your clothes, or look better with the information that you have to tell them. They're there to be educated. They're there to be dressed. They're there to learn. But most of all, they're there so that your clothes make them feel better about themselves. Nobody goes shopping so they can get an education. Okay? Clothes are not a cerebral exercise. They are in school. But outside, people buy clothes for a reason. I'm going to a wedding. I'm going on a date. It's a parent-teacher conference. I have to go get a job. I have to go break up with somebody. Gee, I hope he really likes me, or she really likes me. There's a goal here. And the goal is seduction. And when I say seduction, it doesn't mean it always ends up in bed, though if you're lucky, sometimes it really does. But the point of it is, but a lot of seduction is about getting a job, or getting your in-laws to like you, or basically just making a point, or getting your project picked over somebody else's. And so that when you put together clothes, there has to be an element of what people want. It's so important that you realize what people want out there, and this is why I go back to this idea of the internet. There's a customer. The reason why InStyle has been such an enormous and incredible success over the past 16 years, this year even our biggest year ever, is that we were not, yes, we get all of this kind of credit. We were the first ones to make the cover all white and uniform. We were the first ones to put celebrity on the cover. That's not the reason why. What happened was we were the first fashion magazine to break the circle, what I call the circle of conversation, which is, and now, believe me, I have friends working at every single magazine, and I have great respect for all of my colleagues. But Vogue talks to Harper's Bazaar, and Harper's Bazaar talks to Glamour, and Glamour talks to Town & Country, and Town & Country talks to Interview, and Interview talks to Cosmo, and Cosmo talks to Lucky. Okay, we were the first ones to say, you know something, we're going to talk to the customer. We're going to talk to the consumer. We're going to try to teach them. We're going to try to educate them. We're going to try to entertain them. But most important, we're going to try to make them feel they know how to do this. You know as well as I do, as somebody in fashion, I guarantee you most of the time you have some friend who says, oh my God, you're in fashion, you can come here and help me because I don't know anything. Well, you're not going to be standing next to them every single morning when they get dressed. Somehow you have to figure out how to make clothes, or how to present clothes, whether you're a retailer or a manufacturer, that gives them the confidence to put them on. That when they put on, everything we do every day is about getting people over to our side. Whether it's about, like I said, whether it's about winning an argument, whether it's about getting a job, whether it's about getting a date. And clothing is a great form of persuasion. Clothing is one more tool. It's a great form of persuasion. Also, clothing is a way in which we judge each other. We live in a world that moves way too quickly for its own good. We do everything on a clock. Okay? You have all these phrases in advertising, but you're going to love it in an instant. Really? Anything that you're going to love in an instant is completely and utterly suspect. But unfortunately, that's the kind of world we live in, where I judge you based on your scarf is a decision, your bag is a decision, your beige cardigan has all been a decision. And it's not just because that's what I had in the closet that was clean. You chose to wear that day, and I'm going to judge you based on that. And those are the kind of clothes that you're going to be making. You're going to be making clothes, or at least marketing clothes, or retailing clothes, or writing about clothes, which people will use in which to be judged by. And what's important to me, more important than anything else, is that you understand clothing's life off of a rack. It's great to make great clothes. But what happens to the life of that piece of clothing when it gets off a coat hanger and winds up in somebody's closet, when it winds up on somebody's back? You have a responsibility to that person to help that person achieve their goals through whatever it is that you have made. And that's not something they do teach you here. And in order to do that, you really need to know a lot about the other people in the world around you. You need to get out of your own comfort zone. You need to get out of this, you're just talking to your current classmates. You need to sort of explore the world and watch and see and hear how people think. This is the problem with something like Facebook, and this has nothing to do with the movie Social Network, which is incredibly brilliant to listen to, and the words are fascinating. But what the movie, how many of you have seen the film? But what the film is about, insularity. The film's about insularity. How it's easy just to create your own little kingdom. Well, that's great if that's the only people you ever had to sell to in order to make $1 billion. Or at least a good living. But that's not how it goes. You have to, how many of you have been to Troy, Michigan? 2. How many of you have been to Scottsdale, Arizona? How many of you have been to Palo Alto, California? How many of you have been to Bal Harbor, Florida? These are major shopping markets. Major shopping markets, and each woman in those cities buys clothing different than the women in the other city. Learn about the rest of the world. The same thing, how many women in Rome do not go shopping? The thing is, yes, you will hear all of this stuff all the time about how fashion has gone global. How fashion has gone global, and we sell the same stuff in Kuwait as we sell in London. And how the shopper there just gets the same information, they're all the same. It's a lot of crap. It really is. Why? Because we don't all live the same kind of lives. We don't all have the same customs. We don't look at clothing the same way. We don't need clothing for the same reason. And a woman in New York basically shops. She goes out in her lunch hour and she sets this imaginary buzzer. Clink. I have 45 minutes, like she's making meatloaf. I have 45 minutes to shop. I'm going to run in Saks and see what I can find. Which is the reason why 9/10 of the people who go shopping in the lunch hour come home with something they already have in their closet. Usually in the exact same color. Am I wrong?
I put the same thing on purpose.
But most of the time, the first thing you do when you shop, the first thing anybody should do when they shop is go to your closet and see what you already own. Before you go out there and go searching. European women have a different tendency when they shop, is they buy a piece of clothing. It can be the same piece of clothing, but they don't shop on a clock, and they tend to go shopping and looking as if they're welcoming a piece of clothing into their wardrobe. They will bring another pair of shoes. They'll bring a different jacket than the one that they're wearing to see if the thing goes with it. Unfortunately, they buy less, but they buy more intelligently. Why? Because they don't shop on a clock. But Americans love to do, we cook on a clock, we shop on a clock, we do way too many things on a clock. And if we would just learn to relax. The thing is, and one of the problems is, again, I don't mean to make the internet the villain. Okay, I have an iPad in my pocket right here. I own 4 laptops, so I'm just as connected as everybody else. But the point is that you need a sense of conversation. You need a dialogue. to people, to shoppers, to find out what they really want. They're dying to tell you. These days, the problem is, when I first started in this business, the questions you were asked every season when you went on TV is, oh, what's the color this season, and how short are the skirts going to be, and and how many buttons on the suit jacket. You know as well as I do. If you go to the store now, you can find a skirt this length, this length, this length, this length. You can have skinny pants, you can have jeggings, you can have triple pleated pants, you can have man-tailored pants, you can have fatigues, you can have fatigues with a lot of pockets, fatigues with no pockets. You have all the options in the world, but all the options in the world means all the confusion in the world. It means people don't have any rules, and if they don't have any rules, then they need direction. And you have to be able to give people a clear-cut reason for why you do what you do. And it has to be done, and it has to be done simply. People have to be able to read your clothes and understand your clothes from an almost immediate perspective. I wish they took more time, but they don't. Because people are both, on one hand, in a rush and lazy at the same time. Style is not something that only a certain number of gifted people who are genetically predisposed are born with, and that's why they go work in either fashion magazines or they go work in design studios. Anybody can be taught style, but the same way that anybody can be taught how to play tennis. It doesn't mean you're going to wind up it doesn't mean you're going to wind up playing Andy Roddick. But the thing is, if you take the classes and if you practice, and if you get on the court often enough, you will play tennis fairly well. The same thing with style. If you take a good look at your body and you do the time and you take the experimentation to figure out, okay, what works on me, what doesn't work on me, you will wind up with good style. And it's something I stress all the time. I was lucky enough to speak at, I don't know if you've read about it, Maria Shriver has this huge women's conference out in LA every year, and it's unbelievable. It's 25,000 women. And because it's Maria Shriver and Arnold, nobody says no. And it's everyone from Michelle Obama to Susie Orman to Oprah. I was probably the least famous person there speaking. But I did a seminar for 900 women on what the original title of the thing was getting a winning wardrobe and an attitude to go with it. And immediately threw out the topic because my feeling is it doesn't matter what clothes you have if you don't start out with a winning attitude about yourself. Your clothes are immaterial. If you don't think you're cool, if you don't think you're a winner, your wardrobe's useless. If you think you're a winner, then let's go find a wardrobe that shows you off to your best advantage. And with that too, this comes, I'm going to swing it around in terms of, for those of you who are going to go out there and go into the workforce, to go get a job. Because any of you have jobs lined up? Okay. Good luck. Okay. It's not a great climate out there. But just because there's not a great climate out there doesn't mean you're not going to get a job. Why? Because there always is room for talented people. The problem is getting people to realize that you're talented. Okay, this is the tough part. Because like I said, no one's waiting for you. That said, there are tons of people out there who have jobs who really aren't that good at what they do. Trust me, or the economy wouldn't be in the position that it's in right now. Okay, so your job is, how do I get people to know how good I am? Number one, you have to know how good you are. And you have to know where you are good. That doesn't mean you don't throw a wide net out there and you don't take, basically, and you're not going to get your dream job first shot out. Maybe one or two of you will, but the majority of you won't. But nevertheless, when you go into a job interview, just remember, no one's doing you a favor by giving you a job, okay? No one's either taking pity on you, or I kind of liked her skirt, or anything like that, okay? The thing is, if you're going in there, both of you are on trial. You come in to interview me, do you want to work with me? Do I have something to teach you? Do I have something to show you? Do I have something to present to you that you don't already have? You should be judging, and I know this sounds a little arrogant, but you should be judging the people who are interviewing you as much as the people who are you should be judging the people who are interviewing you as much as they're judging you. Okay? Simply because if you have nothing to gain by getting here, then get the hell out. However, you have exactly 5 minutes from the moment you walk in the door, and that's usually how long it takes for people to make a decision, to decide whether or not you're something special. Okay? Number one, I'm not saying your resume doesn't matter, but you all have good resumes. So they've all kind of neutralized themselves. Choose your outfit carefully. It doesn't mean that you come in there wearing Balenciaga, not for a job that pays $23,000 a year. Okay? Pick something that looks like you, that defines your personality. Two, and I know this will sound weird, rehearse. Rehearse. You know what you're going to get asked about. Know the things that you like. Know what it is that you want to do. It doesn't mean this is all you're willing to do. But in the same way that for those few of you who might ever have acted or gone into an audition, you go in there with a prepared song and you sing your guts out. I'm sure you all watch Glee, okay? Okay. There's Leah Michele at the end of last season singing. Don't Rain on My Parade, okay? If that wasn't the only audition for a revival of Funny Girl that's going to happen in 2 years, I don't know what is, because there is going to be one, and that girl wants that part more than anything else on earth, okay? You have to have your own version of the song. I don't care if you rehearse with your parents, you rehearse with your friends, whatever it is, have answers ready. Know what it is that you want. Know it before you walk. I can't tell you how many people have walked into my magazine and without any real. It's like you lined all of the magazines, and now I'm going to go in. What makes InStyle different than Harper's Bazaar? What makes Harper's Bazaar different than Lucky? What makes Calvin Klein different than Donna Karan? What makes Guess different than BB? Before you walk in, do your damn homework. Know the company you're walking into and decide how it is that you can help add to that company. You can't treat every single one, I really love design and I'm really good and I love working in silk and fashion and I want to do junior dresses and it would be, I'm really good and I'll work really hard. Have a nice afternoon. Know the place if they're going to study you, you study them. Have an awareness of what a company does. And here's where your damn internet really works. Go online and find out about that company and find out about that magazine. If you come in for an interview with me, you should have read at least 3 issues of that magazine and know it backwards and forwards. Tell me what you like about my magazine. Tell me what you think could be improved about my magazine. And even better, you really want to win my heart? Give me an example of what you would do to make it better. You want to design for it, let's say it's Guess. Go online. Read about the company. Find out who the target customer is. Then go into the store. Walk through the store. Look at their merchandise. Look at their pricing. Look at their fabrications. Look at the sizes that they do. Find out what you like. Find out what you don't like. And find out and find out for yourself how you would fix it. The more prepared you go into an interview, the more willing you are, the more able you are to tell them, I have something you don't have yet. The more hireable you are. You basically, the thing is, it's not just a job that's open. The thing, that's not what they're looking to fill. They want a brain. They want somebody who can think. Yes, you can say all these things, and when you get in there, you're going to wind up bagging clothes for 3 weeks and going out and getting people a cup of coffee. That's the way life works. Okay? But I'll give you a perfect example. Perfect example. We have, for February, we have 4 pages in the magazine called Grammy Insider. Okay? And we're going to do, 4 things, just on some fashion style moment from the Grammys before the Grammys appear. Why? And remember, the Grammys happen every year. It's the same people who have been in it. It's like doing an Oscar story every year. You're going back to the same well. There's only a limited number of things you can pull. Okay? I asked an intern, not even an assistant, an intern, just to go ahead if they can pull some scrap, some pages on some outrageous outfits that were worn in concerts, some stuff that was worn on some stuff that was worn on tour, and some stuff that was worn and stuff, some outfits that were worn on stage during a Grammy telecast. And the kid's an intern, okay? Whatever, I don't even know what, the interns get paid something in InStyle, but it sure as hell ain't a lot of money, okay? All the kid had to do was to go and go online and print out stuff and pull out some scrap. He showed up with a PowerPoint presentation. A PowerPoint presentation with all of the stars and all of the things sort of categorized. He highlighted the pieces that he loved best. He went ahead and took it upon himself to find lyrics from certain songs that basically matched the particular outfit that he went. Okay? I've already sent his stuff up to the head of HR. He's an intern. I said, take a look at what this kid did without any prompting from anybody. Keep an eye on him. Don't lose him. That's how you get noticed. It's not by answer. There's a line in many of you may wind up waiting on tables. I waited on tables for 12 years. A great waiter isn't just efficient. A great waiter anticipates. He knows what you want before you. It's great. Yes, can I please have some fresh pepper? Okay. How much better is the waiter who comes over and says, "Would you like fresh pepper?" before you ask? Okay. A smart waiter anticipates. A smart employee anticipates. Think about the questions. Think about the questions that will be asked. Remember, there's no such, if you don't know something at a company, there's no such thing as a dumb question if you don't know the answer. The only thing that's dumb is going to be your actions and your responses if you didn't ask the question in the first place. And you go ahead and act without the information necessary. Always go searching to find out what you think people need. And it really is a process of exploration. And it's a process, it's a trial and error. We go back to that Crossgates Mall in Albany. I have a house upstate, okay? Look, there's nothing cooler and nothing chicer than shopping around Soho or walking up Madison Avenue, and you walk by Dolce & Gabbana and Chloe and Michael Kors and Carolina Herrera. And that's that much of the population that shops. Crossgates Mall is one of the largest malls in the United States. I think JCPenney's on one end, Macy's is on the other, Ann Taylor is a designer shop. Okay, but there's Hollister, and there's American Eagle, and there's Banana Republic, and about once every 2 months, it's a little spooky, my partner gets very scared, but I literally like stalk shoppers. I walk through the mall and I watch them shop. I have a little tape recorder in my pocket, I listen to the conversation. I'm not kidding you. And I'll follow them through H&M and see what they're looking to buy, and they go, why? Because the thing is, I want to know how people think. I want to know what they feel looks attractive on them, what their concerns are, why they're buying something, what their needs are, where are these clothes going. Always ask you when you design something. It's even why I asked you that, and I know it's a fantasy piece, but still, in the long run, where are these clothes going? There are so many collections you can look at. And yes, and they're incredibly fascinating, and I'm not knocking anybody, okay? The two women who do Rodarte are they're very unique and very talented women, but they sell $2 million a year, which in this business is nothing. Why? Because where are those clothes going? I haven't the faintest idea. Outside of wearing them for fashion people who want to impress other fashion people, I'm not really sure. Do I think they're skillful? I think they're incredible. But the thing is, and they've made a choice. They've obviously made a choice that they're comfortable with that. But the thing is, I don't know where their clothes are going. Then you get to someone like Ralph Lauren, who just spent God knows what to create that limestone mansion on 76th Street that just opened up on Fifth Avenue. Whether you're a Ralph Lauren fan or not a Ralph Lauren fan, Ralph Lauren has spent his entire life basically going, I'm designing clothes because I know these particular clothes because I know where they're going. I know where they're going to be worn. Okay? If you're coming into the fashion business to be an artist, then do me a favor, go buy yourself some canvases and go buy yourself some oil paints and go start painting. This is a business. And the way in which you're successful is you do wonderful clothes that sell. Okay? I remember asking Karl Lagerfeld in the last collection, what was your favorite dress? He said, which one sold the most? Okay? If someone like Karl Lagerfeld cares about his sales, then you better too. Okay? The thing is, you're in a business to make money. And the same reason when you sit at your drafting table, or whether you're doing a marketing campaign, and the thing is, and you want to be an artist, be an artist. Do an incredible ad campaign, make it beautiful, make it stunning. Okay, if you're doing a dress, make it. But know what happens on the other end after it leaves your desk, which is, in terms of whether it's marketing or advertising and journalism, can the reader understand what the hell I'm talking about? How does this translate in their head? How does a person who really doesn't know anything about fashion respond to this piece? And the same thing with clothing. You design a piece, it's great. Okay, what is it going to cost to produce this? What's the price of the fabric? Know how to price out a piece. Know whether this thing can have a pattern. Know whether this can be produced. It's very funny how often you see a collection come down a runway, and you're very, very impressed. I'll give an example. And it took an enormous change for him when he first got there. When Francisco Costa took over Calvin Klein. Okay, and Francisco, though he's a minimalist like Calvin, and he's a very talented and a marvelous young man, okay, he doesn't design the same way that Calvin does. It's very different. Very, very different. Though the pieces may look similar, nothing's harder to do than simple. Okay, and minimalism is the most misleading form of either art or craft, whether you're dealing with painting or design. And Francisco would send incredible clothes down a runway. And yet when you got to the store, the clothes they looked similar, they didn't lay right, they didn't fit right, they didn't sell. Why? Because Francisco didn't know yet how to get from here to here. He didn't know how to cut. The thing is, they couldn't find the fabrics that were capable of being bought at a price enough to make that dress, to be cut on a certain pattern, to fall a certain way that could be manufactured in the factory in Mexico or wherever it went to get to the store so they would hang, look, and feel like that dress that came down the runway. You're not doing concepts here. The dresses that come down a runway exist in a world unto themselves. It's in the best of all possible worlds. But the reality is it's about commerce. It's about commerce. It's about being able to manufacture clothing that people can, number one, understand, that can wear, and two, when it gets to that department store, it actually has some kind of resemblance to the thing that originally started on your drawing board and that you basically knocked your brains out to send that one piece down a runway. And in order to do that, it means you need to know all aspects of the business. For those of you who are going into design, never let a business partner do your homework for you. For those of you who are in business, who are going to go into the business end, never ever let the designer tell you, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Okay? The thing is, you need to be a master of it. You need to be at least a master of one trade and a jack of all the others. You need to know every single... put it this way, I don't do layouts at the magazine. I write and I edit pages, but I better know something about design, or my pages are going to look ridiculous, and they're not going to focus on the things that I need, because the creative director of the magazine has one agenda and I have another, and we're going to meet somewhere in the middle. Another thing, if you don't know how to collaborate, you better have a daddy or a friend with an awful lot of money, because this is a business of collaboration. Yes, Calvin or Donna or Ralph or Nikolai or Carl is the person whose name is on the label, and they're the one getting all the credit. There are hundreds of people working under them who are knocking their brains out to create that one piece of clothing that you see that has the label Prada inside of it. And you have to understand how other people, you have to be able to go back to that word again. You have to know how to communicate your ideas to other people. so that they can follow you, so that they can understand you, and most of all, so that they can be on your side, that they can respect you. You know, the thing is, and yes, there's lots. There are movies, there are stories, whatever, about, you know, the imperiousness of fashion, you know, and The Devil Wears Prada is a very entertaining movie, but it's a movie. It's a movie. Nobody does this by being imperious, by being, excuse me, I'm sorry, Alice, by being a shithead. Okay. This is a very tiny world, and it's a very collaborative business. And the people who are best at what they do treat the people who are around them like colleagues. Treat the people around them as if we're all on the same team and we're going to do this together. And yes, sometimes you don't get exactly what you want, deal with it. It's a dress. It's a dress. Okay? This is basically, if you were changing a molecular structure and all of a sudden you didn't have the cure to Alzheimer's, that's a different story. It's a dress. Learn to collaborate. Learn to deal with other people. Once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record on this thing because it's the thing that matters the most to me, watching young people come into the business. And do me a favor, please put that texting thing away. Oh, you taking notes? Okay, then I appreciate that. All right, fine. Okay, thank you. Okay, learn to communicate. It's truly, it's the most important thing. It's the most important thing, and it's the thing I see lacking in young people today more than anything else. Articulate your dreams, articulate your goals, articulate your skills. It matters so much to be able to explain to other people. Let people become fascinated in you. It's great to be awestruck by other people in business, or to walk in and you want to work at Armani or AX and stuff like that. That's great. But I'm telling you, from your side, you have to be your own cheerleader. You have to be your own chorus of glee. Okay? And you have to walk in there and you have to get people as excited about you as you are about working for that company. And the only way you can do that is to communicate. Is to communicate your knowledge, to communicate your interest, to communicate the breadth of exploration that you have done, to find out about the places that you're going. Don't walk in anywhere cold. Yes, I'm speaking to you now without a speech. That's fine. But I've also had 20 years of doing this. So I don't need the speech because basically this stuff is glued into the front of my head. And when I watch kids come in, and it's like, and I will stand there and I will let a kid stumble through before they get to the end because I'm not going to help you along. Because if you can't tell me in using English with your idea or with using a pen and a piece of paper how something is done, how something should happen, I don't want to hear the thing, oh, well, you know, and it's kind of like, no, it's not kind of like nothing. It's kind of like nothing, and no, I don't know. Because if I did know, I wouldn't need you. The point is that come in and show me something new. Show me something new and make me believe it's something new. Make me understand, let me get as excited about you as you are about you. And if you're not excited about you, then go home and don't come out of the house until you are. If that sounds harsh, I'm sorry for not being sorry. Because the thing is that there really is so much room for talent. Anyone who tells you there's no room out there, they're lying to you. Okay? Jack and Lazaro from Parenza Schuler, they didn't listen. Jason Wu didn't listen. Derek Lam didn't listen. Isabel Marant didn't listen. They made places for themselves. And they made places for themselves because they showed up with an incredible level of perseverance, with an incredible level of talent, and with the ability to translate what they saw and what they saw and what they knew into clothing that mattered to people. When you look, one of the things I admire most about Jason is that after he did Michelle Obama's dress, you have no idea of the levels of offers that he was given. I mean, he was offered to endorse dog food because the Obamas were going to buy dogs. They were buying the dog, and he did the dress. And the level of absurdity is just. We live in a really absurd world. Okay, all you have to do is watch a 24-hour news cycle for one day, and you want to blow your brains out. Okay, we live a very absurd world, and people make weird connections. And Jason was offered, naturally he was offered a bridal line, he was offered a floral line, everything. And Jason said, you know something? I have a collection in 3 weeks and I have to go back to work. And in the collection that he showed, 2.5 to 3 weeks after the inauguration, there was not a single white evening dress in that collection, because Jason said, you know something? That's a one-off. I did that for her. That's special. We're done. And now, let's come look at my talent instead of looking at how I can knock myself off. There's room for everyone. There's room for everyone who has talent, who has perseverance. Another thing as well. Perseverance, communication, talent. I've talked about the second two. The first one, perseverance. Because nobody is waiting for you. Most of the time, no one's going to answer the phone. I'm sorry she's in a meeting. I'm sorry he's out. Can I take a message? Why don't you send it in an email? Why don't you send the post and send it to Human Resources, and you will do all these things. And then you will wait 4 days, and you will wait 5 days, and you will wait 6 days, and nobody will call you back, and you're going to get pissed off. And you can do one of two things. You can either go, well, screw them, I'm on to the next one. Or you can swallow that little piece of pride and that little piece of arrogance that's making you cranky, and you can pick up the phone and you can call again. Remember, they have something you don't, and you don't have, and right now they don't know that you have something that they don't. So you will call, and you will call, and you will send, and you will call, and you will email, and you will call, until you are such a raging pain in the ass that somebody will eventually answer the phone just to shut you up. You want to know something? Fine. If that's what it takes for you to pay attention to me, then you will pay attention to me. But remember, if you don't persevere, you don't win. You really, and this is for some people, especially if you feel like you've been a star in the school, or you've got a talent, and you're the apple of your family's eye, and they all think you're amazing, and you did all your sister's bridesmaids' dresses, whatever it is, that's just great. We don't know any of that stuff. The reality is that we don't know any of this, and because of that, you basically you don't have to knock on a door, you have to almost bust the hinges on that door. But if you knock down that door, and then you got something to show for it, we're going to pay attention. Give me a question. Somebody has to have a question.
Questions?
Yes?
How did you get to where you are today? Because you said you were a bartender and a waiter.
Oh, I had a catering business. I cooked for a living. I tap danced. I sang. I did a lot of stuff. I've had a very long life. You know, but as far as, I always wrote. I mean, I always wrote, and I guess I had an odd perception when I was a kid, because writing came so easily to me. I thought it was something like math at 2 and 2 makes 4, which like everybody eventually learns. So I thought writing wasn't like anything special because I figured everybody else knew how to write. Honestly, it wasn't until I started teaching English in high school, I did that too, by the way, years ago, that I realized, oh my God, nobody knows how to write. What happened was when I started to write, and I actually went to graduate school. I went to NYU Film School and started writing about film. I didn't go to FIT, I didn't go to Parsons, I wasn't interested. I can't say I wasn't interested in fashion. My grandmother was a dressmaker. My grandmother's a dressmaker, and she lived with us. So I basically grew up with the sound of a sewing machine. Okay, so everyone in and we didn't have a lot of money, so everyone in my family knows how to sew. Basically, there were bolts of fabric lying in the basement. You want a T-shirt? Knock your brains out. Okay, so we all learned how to sew. That did teach me about construction, and I actually can cut a pattern and all that kind of stuff. But that was something that was just, it was a given in my house. It was like you had to know how to make a pot roast. So you also knew how to like cut a jacket and cut a shirt. But as far as writing goes, perfect example that when my first big break, I actually was restaurant critic for a magazine called Details, when Details was like the downtown Bible. And I got that job, it's roundabout, and I would be taking up your next 3 classes, but basically I used to cater for the woman who started the Soho News, who eventually started Details, and she talked me into writing about restaurants. My attitude was that nobody cared about food. If you live in New York, everybody cares about going to eat. Because going to eat is basically, as you will discover if you don't already, nobody goes to anybody's house in New York. You never see the inside of any of your friends' apartments. Your restaurants are where we do business. Restaurants are where we have our social lives, is where we see our friends, is where we see our business partners, restaurants are it. And that's what I started writing about, and it got popular. And then when I started getting other job offers to write about food, I went, wait a second, I'm not a food writer. I don't want to write just about food. So what I did was I stood one day at a magazine stand and went to look at and took down 40 magazines that I thought I would like to write for, and took down the managing editor's name and the address of all 40 of them. And then I put together a portfolio and basically rejiggered to 6 different categories, rejiggered the opening letter for all 6 different categories depending on what it was. And then I sent out basically 40 sort of packets. I sent out 40 packets all at once, and then I started calling. I waited a week, and then I started calling. And honestly, I actually made a chart of all the 40 magazines, and basically, if I called Vogue, I would call Vogue every Tuesday at 3 o'clock on the button. You could set your clock by it. I would call, and yes, I would get, I'm very sorry, so-and-so's in a meeting, the call back, fine. And then I would wait a week, and then at 3 o'clock I would call back again. Hi, it's Hal, blah, blah, blah. I know she was in a meeting last time, but I was wondering if she could... Oh, no, so, well, let me see if she can call you back. Okay, I'll take your number, and she'll call you soon. Next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Hi, it's Hal. And I did this to 40 different magazines, constantly. Eventually, 3 answered. 3 out of the 40. One was the Robb Report, one was the Daily News, and one was Vogue. Okay? And I got work at all 3 of those. And the reality is, you will learn in this business, is nobody wants to make the first move. Basically, the world, it is a chicken shit world. Okay? Everybody's perfectly happy to take the second step. Very few people have the nerve to take the first step. Very few people have the nerve. Everybody's risk averse. Basically, in the 80s, the situation comedy is dead until somebody puts the Cosby Show on. Oh, musicals could never make it on TV, and then here comes Glee. Okay, and this is the way you will find life works. You have to find the one person willing to take a chance. And if one person takes a chance and you succeed, then all of a sudden everybody else lines up behind them. Oh my God, well, if it's good enough for Anna, if it's good enough for Hal, if it's good enough for me. And literally, it's the weirdest domino effect. And your first attitude is to be resentful, which is like, where the hell were you when I was sending you this stuff in the first place? How stupid could you be not to have noticed it? Suck it up. The thing is, that's just the way it works. But what made it happen was literally the perseverance, was taking your anger and basically go to the gym, go put on your running shoes, go put on your eye collar, I don't care what you got to do, just don't beat up the dog. But the thing is, find something to get rid of your anxiety and keep on going, because the reality is, like I said, they don't know that you're out there. Somebody else, yes.
I have a question. You said that you don't consider fashion to be art,
No.
but there's designers out there like Alexander McQueen, who's clearly a designer.
Alexander McQueen was just extraordinarily gifted man. When I say it's art, I don't mean to denigrate fashion any more than, look, like I told you, I used to cook for a living or write about food, and I don't consider food art either. That's not a denigration. The reason why I'm saying that is that it's a popular art in the sense that it's something that everybody... Painting, if we're going to talk about neo-impressionist painting, okay, there's a good part of you here who don't really care anything about neo-impressionist painting. How many of you don't care about clothing? How many of you don't care about food? What I'm saying, there's a populism that is necessary, that exists in fashion and that exists in food, that sets them apart, which I think actually makes them more special than art. I think art is rarefied. I think the glory of what McQueen did was he took something that very often a lot of people take for granted, which is getting dressed in the morning or clothing, and did something beyond anybody's expectations. So when I say that it's not art, I'm not knocking it. What I'm trying to do is saying very often we leave art to the realm of experts. And the advantage that I think clothing and food have over painting and sculpture is that you get to appeal to people who aren't experts. You get to fascinate people who aren't experts. Like a consumer. The fact that a consumer and not an art expert or an aficionado could look at something by Alexander McQueen or by, let's say, Karl Lagerfeld at his last Chanel collection or his haute couture collection, or John Galliano when he does haute couture for Dior, and go, oh my God, that is amazing. That's amazing. Without the skill and the knowledge of what it takes to understand Ed Reinhardt's paintings. That to me is an incredible skill. That you need to know nothing really about cooking to go eat Eric Ripier's food at Le Bernardin or Thomas Keller's food at Per Se and take one bite and go, wow, this is just killer. That to me is even greater. I find that really exciting. Somebody else, please. Yes.
I'd like to ask what we should do while we have students here, apart from internship. I understand that to go out there to learn more about this world of fashion and industry.
I think this within your school, basically several things. Okay, I will say this, and granted, I'm sure some of you in class. I was in that library something like 24 times, and I never saw enough students. Get off your computer. Get off your computer. Go look at books. Go look at old movies. Go down. How many of you, when was the last time any of you ever watched a black and white film? Not a hell of a lot of you, huh? There were great designers like Ori Kelly and Travis Banton and Edith Head and Givenchy and Adrian and Madame Gray, all these people who did fun. Go do your homework. I can't believe how many people look at collections and have no ability to reference where it came from. Do your homework. It's very funny when you look at the old TV shows like Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best and all that kind of stuff, and all those